Okay, this video is to show you how to remove the float valves and the float needle seats and so on my Suzuki GS 550 carburettors. This is a set of Mikuni carburettors as fitted to the later models. So what we've done is we've taken the carburettors off and turned them upside down, and the first thing to do is to remove these float bowls. This here is just a drain plug, and as the name suggests, use it to get the petrol out before you start, but other than that we don't need to remove those. What we do need to do is remove these bolts in the corners of each of the float bowls, especially this one because it has a bracket that holds the idle screw adjusting piece there. So we'll take these last two out and just completely unscrew that one, and then that should lift out quite easily. Okay, there we go. These little screws are all the same actually, so it doesn't matter if you mix them up wherever you store them, because it really won't matter after we take those out. Okay, so we just need to move this little bracket out of the way, and then we can take our float bowls off. Sometimes the gasket will be stuck here on the actual carburettor, sometimes it will be loose like this, and sometimes it will be stuck on the float bowl, which might be the case on this one. Yes, it is. So the brackets, the gaskets are there. Again, doesn't really matter if you mix these up, but I shall put them to one side here for now. So what you see here are the floats, and because the carburettors are upside down, these are actually in the sort of closed position. So normally they would hang down like this, and then the level of the petrol would make them float, and that would close the needle valve. Now the needle valve is actually underneath this tab here, and this tab is what you bend to adjust the position of the floats, which we'll deal with in a later video. But removing these to get at the float needle assembly underneath is a little bit tricky, because what you have here is a pin through the mounting post there, and you actually have to tap this out. Now I've got a steel pin which is just the right size, and if we come around this side you can see where it is we need to actually do our tapping. So we need to place that on there, and then using a very small hammer, because we don't want to break anything, you can just tap away at that like so. Now it takes a lot more tapping than I'm doing because I've already loosened these, but eventually you'll find that the pin will move, and then you'll be able to push it out, or possibly if it's a bit tight you might need to get a pair of needle nose pliers and actually withdraw it like so. Okay, now be particularly careful about bashing on the end of the pin here, because if you use a dot punch, what will happen is the end will tend to splay out, and then you'll never get the pin out because it will be wider than the hole you're trying to push it through. So we put this pin to one side, and then what that means is we can then remove the floats like so. Now keep these in the same order because they do kind of belong together, and I don't think you really want to be mixing these. Next we've got the float needle retaining bracket, which is this thing here. Now again, I've already loosened these to make it easier for my video, but you take this screw out like so, and then you can remove the retaining bracket, which is here. Okay, and then the next thing to do is to remove the float needle. Now we're aiming at this little dot in the middle here. We just pull it out. There's no resistance there at all, and that is our float needle. And we'll need to check the end of this to make sure that it's clean and it's not marked, and that it's a nice tight fit in the bottom. And then lastly we need to remove this float assembly, which will come out without too much trouble. There you go. And when we turn this upside down, we can see that what we have here is a little rubber O-ring, which I'll point to. So I've got this rubber O-ring. This should be replaced as a matter of course. They're really unlikely to be reusable. And we also have on the end here a little gauze filter, which obviously is there to stop any debris being picked up. Now looking at this one, I've got a feeling that this has been depositing some debris because it looks a bit rotted. And sure enough, if I look down this hole, it should be surgically clean in there. I don't know if this torch will help to illuminate it at all, but there is actually a whole load of dirt down there that looks like black rubber, and that no doubt is what's causing my problem with this particular carburettor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this drill bit, and I'm going to very carefully see if I can pick a bit of it out and show you. Yeah, there it is. I mean that's just a small piece of it, But that is, for a carburettor, that is a massive amount of dirt, and that really should not be there. So this is clearly a source of some of my problem, and what I need to do now is give them a good clean and then reassemble it and make sure that it seals okay, because at the moment it certainly does not. I hope that's helped you. Again, when you're tapping out these pins here, that's probably the toughest bit to do, and what you should aim for is lots of little light taps rather than one great big one, because you really don't want to snap these posts off. That would wreck the carburettor. But take your time, as the engineers say, little knocks move big blocks. So gently tap on here and keep repeating it, and eventually it will come loose and you'll be able to remove it. I hope that's useful for you, and I'll show you the reassembly later on.